All right, so let's get ourselves a branch office set up so we can just do some site-to-site VPN and create very similar rules to allow access to the domain controller shared drives. It's basically like, these people over here are working in the same office as this group over here. So we'll quickly start by getting a few nodes deployed. Definitely we'll start with another Sophos. So I'm going to give this thing 4 CPUs, 4 gigs of RAM, and that should be good. So we'll pull that one out. And then what I want to do, I'm going to have to bring this one up to the top. We're going to tie this in to get our internet access. With that on port B, should be port 2 on a physical device. I'm going to take my management node, pull that over here as well. We'll put that on port A so we can get access to it. Right over here. Just change this to management. And then we can move this kind of closer. And let's also give it a nice, actually that doesn't matter. We can do flowchart. And then let's turn it to a dash line. Save that one. Okay. And then get this thing booted up. Maybe. A little bit of issues there. All right, we'll start that one up. So that'll give us internet access and some management access. We will throw in a switch. I'm just going to go with the Cisco. It's having a lot of issues with the Arubas. They just didn't play nice in here. So it doesn't really matter which one we go with here. Let's just go with this one. I think it's the same one. I'll give it 2 port groups. So we have eight Ethernet ports to work with. Just going to change this to the R switch. All right, it's all nice here. So we'll connect that up to our port D. Then we'll bring out Windows machine. And we'll call this P.4 work. Anything else there? I'll also give that a nicer looking icon. We'll keep it the same. I mean, normally you'd have probably some. I was going to say, you'd probably have, a printer and a few other devices connected, phones, workstations. Again, this is just for the sake of a quick lab. So start these devices up. Head on into our Sophos here. Default password on these things is always admin. I declined. And I typed the wrong password. Enter. There we go. Okay, so I just want to get this thing activated. I'm just going to pause and I'll do that. Okay, so we've got her activated. So we're just going to change our LAN interface to be something we can access from our current network. So we'll give this 201. I can stay the same. WAN can stay the same. So now we should be able to come over here. And there we are. So we'll just rush through the setup here, as I've already done a video on the initial setup of these things. All right, perfect. So we are good to go. Okay, so this one we're gonna do DHCP, not on this port, but on port D. We're gonna do DHCP. So we're gonna what kind of network range are we working with here? So on this side, we're going to do something different. We don't want to be having overlapping subnets. So let's do a 172.25. Let's just keep it. We'll do 10.20.10.1. And then we can have our lease range, which does not need to be that big. We'll leave the first 20 or so addresses free, and we'll just give this a 50. Sure. But yeah, we're going to enable DHCP on the Sophos for right now anyways. We're not going to have any on-prem DHCP server. We could go and have this DHCP server hand IP addresses over the IPsec tunnel to the devices. You would really want to ensure you have a solid internet service provider, if not even a redundant service provider, just to ensure that your device doesn't go down and all of a sudden you can't get a DHCP address. And yeah, I mean, probably something I wouldn't recommend unless it's like absolutely required. This device is highly capable of doing DHCP. I'm just a strong believer is if you can have an actual DHCP server, why not have one? And just use this device for a firewall and routing and whatever else is required. DHCP is very minimal resource usage, but every extra little thing you do on these, right, you're adding some overhead to the resources on it. Doesn't matter if you got a big expensive unit, and I guess you'll be okay. But while that's going up, we are going to do a couple VLANs over here. So let's quickly type this out. So we're going to do our subnets, branch, office. So we'll do our access VLAN 20. The VLANs aren't going to matter. Those aren't going to cause any issues, and we'll do our. So this one will be 10.20.20.0/24, and we'll do a voice VLAN on 30 as well, and that will do 10.20.30.0. Just remember, these numbers don't really matter. This is just what I'm choosing, as long as it's in the private IP space, 10.172.16 to .31 and 192.168. You can use whatever the heck you want. Same with the after. I mean, this could be a /8, it could be a /12, it could be a /13, it could be a /28. Doesn't really matter. This is just what I'm choosing for this. So let's increase this size a bit. Let's change our font Common Sans. We'll also pull out a shape. Dark blue, light green. All right. Okay, so we should be, we're just waiting for this thing to reboot. Apply its settings. Let's head on over to our switch. Quickly do, sorry, little bug in the Eve. Refresh it. We can bring this up. There we go. Okay. Oh, geez, what did I do? 20. And VLAN 30. Okay, so we've got our two VLANs now. Let's do our show command, see what we're working with here. Okay, do show VLAN. I've got our two VLANs. Okay, so we're going to do interface E0/0. This is going to be a trunk on these switches. We're going to change the encapsulation before we can turn it into a trunk. Okay, and then we're going to go to our we will move on over to interface E1/0. This is going to be an access port. Switch port voice. VLAN 30, so that's going to make sure that if we plug a phone into this device, into this port, it is going to give us our VLAN 30. Let's write our changes to memory and do hit show run. So yeah, we got our interfaces configured. Just remember, this is just a very simple configuration. Default spanning tree. There's, time zone's not set. There's a lot that should be done. Do not follow this as best practices. Set up a Cisco switch or any switch in that matter. I'm just doing this just to get us connectivity in the lab here. So we're still waiting for this thing to do its thing. Unless it's done and it just didn't refresh. No, it appears to still be chugging. Okay, so while we're waiting for that, I figured I'd show you guys the next trick here, and that is, so since we're going to be setting up our branch office here, we're going to need a lot of the same services, right, that we set up on here, the same IP hosts, like our AD server. So what I like to do, if you're doing it across the same organization and you need some of the stuff off of this one, we can come into here, and instead of retyping this stuff back into our new switch, or our new firewall, sorry, like the services we created, the service groups we created, we can come on down to back firmware, import, export. So here's where you'd import a file, here's where you can export things. So you can export the full configuration. That would export everything, the rules, the passwords, the networks, the whole shebang. But instead, we're just going to select a couple things. So you're going to select export select configuration. You're going to go add. We're going to type IP here. We're going to want IP host. We don't need anything else. We haven't set any other stuff up. And then we're going to search for service, or even just start with that. So that we want services and service group. So we're going to export these 3 sections, and those are all under this host and services. So let's just click on export. Depending how much you have in here, this can take a while. Like I've done an export of full configuration, and it is, yeah, it puts these devices to work trying to export all that data. I'm sure you can do it from the CLI. There maybe is an easier way to do it that way, or maybe it runs faster. Still waiting for this thing to come back up. All right, so there it is. So it gives you this .tar file. So we're going to download it. We'll just save it. And once this one comes back, we can. No idea what's going on with this thing. See, it says it's up and running, but oh, I'm going to change the password. The web interface is not back up yet. And again, this is a. Make sure we didn't screw up our interface configurations. Ah, yeah, see, we did. So we lost our management interface, apparently. So let's start up our workstation so we can get some access to this device. So yes, we do. Yeah. So it switched us over to port D. No good. That was my bad. So see, I don't want to configure port D. So device console. Let's see what we got for options here. System. I don't look like we got a whole lot of options here. Where's my box not coming up here? There we go. A little bit of technical difficulties you got to see. Okay. So I'm going to have to come back into my switch and quickly get this back to there. So we can at least get some internet or get some access to our device here. And then what I'll do is I'll set my management port back up. So this goes to show how easy you can lock yourself out of one of these devices. Be careful. I shouldn't have changed that till later. I should have set up port D after the fact. So let's get this. Oh, it's kicking on over. Oh, it's already given us an IP, which is good. We can see the Dhcp is working. So let's connect it to here. ourselves our management interface back up. Put some LANs on. We're going to give this that 172.20.0.201 IP address. Save that. If this comes back up, we can close this out. Go ahead and access this thing like we're used to. There we go. Okay, so let's close this out. We know Dhcp is working. I'm going to come back into my switch now, and I want to convert this back to our access VLAN. So this is going to kill our connection, which may take a few seconds, but that's okay. I'll come back to that. So now that we have got back in here, let's go through and do a kind of quick setup here. Device access is good. We've already got our password. I don't have to worry about that. I like to, like I said, change this. Apply that. Enable our login disclaimer. Again, in a real environment, you change this to new company policies. One thing I didn't show you guys last time was the time. Make sure you select this, sync it up, apply it. This way, once you get one-time password like 2FA set up for the VPN connections, your time will always be in sync. I've had a lot of issues where the time was out, come to, and the token offset is wrong, so the users have tons of problems trying to connect with their two-factor. Always come in and do this right away, because sometimes this will actually bring your server down throughout the day. Okay, so let's go ahead and import, what I said, our hosts, our services, none of that's here, right? Because we haven't set that up. So we're going to come in and we're going to go to our backup firmware and we're going to go to import export. Now we're going to browse. Of course, I'm pulling this from my local computer. Just going to move this over just in case. And there's our tar. So there's our backup that we just did off of this one. For these three configurations, and we'll click import. This will take a few seconds. While we're waiting for that to load, I can show you here. This is kind of what you're looking at. So this is what's inside that tar file. It has all the different system hosts. Like a lot of this is the default, but here you can see, for instance, we have our 10.10.10 for our HQ AD. Apologies. So this just exports all this data. So you don't have to come in and retype it all over and over and over again. Especially when you're, between two branches in the same, business that are sharing the same type of resources, and you would have to come and put this AD IP into this for your firewall rules and just the internal network if you want access to other devices. This is just such a quicker way of doing this. That way you only got to do it once. The import does take a little bit of time. I'll pause to come back when it's complete. All right, so as you can see, our API import was successful. So if we come now over to hosts and services, and here we go. We've got all our hosts, we've got all our services we made, we've got our service scripts we made. So now we can, easily come and create our rules, which let's delete all these basic ones. Clean this all up. We don't have to redo all that extra work. I mean, we are still going to have to add some hosts. We're going to have to add our new internal networks, which is something I've got to create yet. We're going to create our zones. We're going to create our networks. Exactly the same process as the other one. Whatever you want to allow on this. Like I said, we're going to allow our user portal. Some stuff like this you might want to allow too later on down the line. For now, we'll just keep it simple. They don't need to access the admin of this device from that network. So let's add in our voice VLAN, voice zone for our voice VLAN. This only needs DNS and ping. And then we'll come down over here. We'll set up our port D. I'll change this to BR_LAN. That can stay the same because this will be kind of our main network, which in case, you may have your printers on there, you may just have them all on access, but I usually like to keep a management network. So now we're going to add our VLANs, and this is going to be access, and this is going to be tied to our BR-LAN, and it's going to be in our access, access zone, and we're going to give this VLAN ID of 20, and this is 10.20.20.1. Save. We'll have to come over and create our Dhcp scopes for all these as well. And then we're going to add our voice VLAN. Same thing, put it on that interface. Voice, this is going to be VLAN, VLAN 30. And this is 10.20.30.1. Save. And again, this is just your gateway address. It could be 254, it could be 20 for all you care. The numbers are almost meaningless when it comes to this. Everybody's going to have a difference. So we're going to turn these DHCP servers off and delete them. Now we're going to add a new one. So this one will be our access underscore DHCP. And this is going to go on our access scope. And then our start IP will be 10.20.20.30. We'll go 50. I don't think we'll ever need that much in a branch office, and we'll just go up to 60 as this is just a lab. If you had a domain name, you could put that in here. I guess we could. We could put our 80.kilseclab.com as this is going to be domain joined. For primary DNS, we'll use that. We'll put our secondary in there, and we'll save. Oh, and actually, no, that's not true. For this, we want to put in our 10.10.10.10, as that's going to be our DNS server for this network. And then we'll add in our voice. And this one is going to be just completely separate. This, we're not going to really need any reserved addresses for anything. And again, being a lab, just give it 10 addresses, no domain name. This is just going to be our default gateway and our Google, for instance. Come over to our DNS settings here, and they're going to obtain from DHCP, which is fine. Got our WAN link, which is good. And that too, we can change from port B. We'll call this ISP1. Just so it's easier to distinguish once when we're set up. I want to do some SD-WAN videos eventually where I'll show you guys how to set up like static IP on your WAN interface and some of these stuff with that, where you want certain traffic going out certain ISPs. Maybe one's quicker than the other, maybe one's slower than the other. Maybe you don't want traffic going out one. Maybe you only want traffic going out a VPN link. There's a lot of cool tricks you can do there. Okay, so yeah, we're coming up to the 30-minute mark here. I think I'm going to cut her off for the day. we can continue on in the next video. So we've got our networks created, we've got our VLANs created, we've got our zones created, we've got our DHCP done, our DNS is set up, we've imported our hosts and services from our previous firewall, saving us some work. We can quickly add in our BR_access net, which is our 10.20.20.0/24. And then we can add in our voice network as well. So this is going to be a network. Perfect. Yeah, and see, that's kind of why sometimes I like to, this should actually be HQ access net, right? It's where it helps to have this network. We want to keep just in case. We want to keep all that. So next video, we'll go ahead and start creating rules. Get our IPsec tunnel set up. I may create the rule ahead of time, but it's always good to go over them again. But yeah, for now, this is where we'll cut her off. Thanks.